Hi, my name is Carl Pearson. I'm an attorney, and during the past few years I've been running for federal, state, and New York City office, and I lost. What I learned from these efforts is that any meaningful economic reforms are not going to occur unless we as the voters reassert our rights and enact some meaningful reforms ourselves. And I figured out that meaningful reforms, if possible, must take place at the lowest level of government instead of the top or national or state or county even, where it is possible for almost all of the voters to learn about the issues in a short period of time and then vote for these issues and then see them enacted if a majority of those voting vote in favor of the proposed reforms. I have the background to enable you to conclude that I know what I'm proposing for the voters of Hudson, New York, a so-called, quote, city, unquote, in New York State, one of 62, quote, cities, unquote, in which the voters are permitted, under New York's Home Rule law, to enact local legislation directly by a majority of those voting upon a proposed offer to the voters called a ballot initiative. A ballot initiative, when placed on the ballot, will be voted on at the next general election, and that is to be held on Tuesday, November 2 in 2015. And it requires only a bare majority of the voters who vote on the initiative to enable the initiative to become a local law. Now, I have two ballot initiatives which I have prepared for Hudson, New York voters. Later in this video, I'll explain how a ballot initiative is placed on the ballot for acceptance or rejection by Hudson, New York voters. But now I want to explain a little bit more about my background. During 1972, I created a field of employment in the United States known as the paralegal or legal assistant field. Using my own time and money, which I inherited from my father in a very small amount, I might say, I created a school in New York City to train paralegals. Thereafter, more than 2,000 training programs, mainly in the nation's community colleges, were started in the United States to train people as paralegals. There now are approximately 1 million people employed or working independently as paralegals in the United States. I set up, managed, and taught in my school for 18 years. The school was licensed, accredited, and had federal student loans. And I'm telling you this because I am very experienced in training students to fill jobs that require technical training and in creating brand new jobs that never existed. And I know the costs of instruction, having paid for instructors myself for an 18-year period. Now, let me talk about the two reforms which, if enacted, I believe will create prosperity for residents and small businesses in Hudson, New York. Zip code 12534. Let me slip in an undisputed fact at this point. There are four main types of employers in the United States, and only one of them creates any net number of new jobs for Americans, and that is not in dispute at all. The four main types of employers are big business, government, military, and small business. Which of these employers are the hopeful employers for high schools, community colleges, four-year colleges, university, and the output of the private training programs in America? And the answer is, it's the first three types. But which of these four types of employers is the only type which creates any net number of new jobs in the United States? The answer, small business. And we have no training programs at all to train people to go to work for the smallest businesses in the United States. The lowest pay for the largest employer in the United States, Walmart, is about $10 per hour with almost no benefits. The smallest businesses in the United States can afford to pay one person, often the only employee, anywhere from $25 to $60 an hour, because the trained employee would enable the owner or manager of the business or a small entity to direct his or her activities to a much more profitable set of activities, for which the business would be taking in maybe $100 to $500 per hour in gross income, depending, of course, on the type of business. What I want Hudson, New York to set up is a one-year free training program for its residents and senior high school students, which would have a direct cost as little as $333 per year per student, based on 30 students in a class. 500 hours of instruction in that year with the students living at home. Now, I'd like to tell you that the cost per student being given instruction now in the Hudson School District is $29,600 for a one-year period. That's taking all the costs, or the direct costs of instruction, meaning just the costs of the teaching itself, is more than $11,000 per student. So I'm saying that you can get great paying jobs at $333 per year per student, and there's no need for them to go to college. It would be optional thereafter, but get your good employment first, then think about college. The key to this type of training that I'm advocating is easy to explain. Think of a small business owner who runs his or her business alone, nobody else there, figuring out what to do as to each matter of hundreds that have to be handled. If you, after the appropriate training, went to work for one of these business persons, and if you had a question, who would you ask for help? It's just you and the business owner in the room. So who would you ask? You probably are going to answer, of course, you would ask the owner. No, that's the wrong answer. Remember, the owner has nobody in the room before you got there, and he or she had to answer the questions without somebody being in the room. The owner wants you to pretend that you are the owner and do what the owner would have done to resolve the problem, without bothering the owner in most cases. Now read my lips. This is what the owner would tell you. Don't bother me. That's the basic rule to follow. That's the basic principle of the course, to teach people how to be independent and solve these problems of small business so that you don't bother the owner and allow the owner or manager the freedom to expand the activities and create greater prosperity for the business and the employees and the people dependent on them and the town itself. The training is designed to show you how to handle hundreds of different situations that arise in almost all small businesses and other small entities, regardless of their type. The skill to be acquired can be used with almost any type of small entity. The program has so many short subjects that the course can be set up so that there are no prerequisites, and a student can enter it at almost any time. Like even on a daily basis, you could add a student if someone's missing and drops out, as long as the course is taught in the same order each time. The course should be taught for all 500 hours by the same instructor because of the difficulties in scheduling that would result otherwise. Because of what I call this rolling admissions, where you can enter at any time, the class would average 29 actual students throughout the one-year period, and be able to be taught at a direct cost of about $333 per student for the one-year program, to teach them what they need to know to obtain a job anywhere in the United States, paying about $25 to $60 per hour, and have that job without licensing. Because you would have to live in Hudson, New York to take the course, the land values in Hudson would go up, and the profitability of small business would go up, and overall salaries in Hudson, New York would go up, and neighboring towns would probably demand the same reform. You can see now, I hope, that the right kind of training for residents can create local prosperity. Let's talk about the second reform, a second ballot initiative, and that's needed to bring in the business, the income, for all Hudson small businesses and for Hudson residents seeking to earn extra income. The second ballot initiative is to have Hudson pay up to $1,000 per week, or a total of $50,000 per year, in radio commercials advertising one or more privately owned databases that offer free keyword advertising in an unlimited number for each and every good or service that anyone is offering to sell or buy in Hudson, New York, and advertising that could reach a radius of 75 miles around Hudson and enable each small business and individual in Hudson seeking to make money to advertise thousands of different items of goods or services at a cost per person, per business or individual per year of only $20. to advertise the entire business for 1 year at a cost of $20. Phenomenal. The database would be found through searches from anywhere in the world, so that income would come pouring into Hudson businesses and residents through internet searches and through local radio advertising. This would add significantly to prosperity in Hudson, New York. Each keyword ad should have a landing page on the advertiser's own website giving more specific information about the product or service advertised, including price, experience, satisfied customers, service, etc. Because the ads would be free, the business owner should create as many ads as possible to enable someone searching for something specific to find the advertiser. And the ads should be on there for a long duration and not pulled off right away. For example, rebuild 1929 Studebaker carburetor, $50 an hour plus parts, with a link to the advertiser's landing page. Or consultant for water contamination due to fracking, with that link. Or have a pickup truck with plow, clear snow from driveways and parking lot, $40 per hour but a $15 minimum, with a link. Tutor quantum mechanics, high school level, $25 per hour. These two reforms involve very little cost to Hudson, New York, and would enable hundreds of, if not thousands of Hudson residents and small businesses to obtain substantially higher incomes and profits. This would increase land values and taxes and reduce social costs for Hudson. There is nobody in the United States doing this at this time. Hudson would be the first in the country and presumably would be given media attention, which probably would increase the value of this program for Hudson residents and small businesses. I believe that these two reforms would create prosperity for Hudson, New York. I'm spending my own time and money to try to change the nation's economic system, which is having more of the wealth increasingly held by fewer and fewer persons. My proposed reforms are needed to provide an offset to this ever-increasing concentration of the nation's economy. I have no plans to profit from this activity in Hudson. I'm doing this without compensation and without reimbursement of my expenses. I don't want to own the training program or to be paid to teach the program. I probably will have to train the instructors, and if so, I will do so without any compensation. I believe in what I'm doing, and I'm not seeking any compensation or profits in doing this. The way these two reforms are to get on the ballot for next November 2015 is to get about 300 signatures on each of the two petitions. Then submit these petitions to the appropriate Hudson, New York authorities, who will reject them because they already have the power to enact the two proposed laws and have not done so, and don't expect them to do so. And then we'll need another 150 signatures within a 2-month period after the rejection. A court action might be necessary, but that's the way it is. And after any litigation is resolved, hopefully in favor of the two petitions would go on the ballot for November 2015's general election, with each ballot being a separate issue which the voters could accept or reject by a majority of those voting on the petition. If you would like to participate in getting signatures, please give me a call at 212-307-4444, or you can email me at carlpers2@gmail.com, carlpers2@gmail.com. I'm hoping that you, if you are a registered voter residing in Hudson, New York, will sign both of the petitions in front of another Hudson voter resident or notary public, New York State, and then you, if you're a voter, do the same for that other voter. Then mail the 4 signed petitions to me. The address is at the end of the second page of the petition. You can read the petition and download or print out the petitions by going to my website, voterlaws.com, and look for the 2 Hudson petitions on education and database advertising. Please don't bother with a petition for free broadband. We might want to try that in a later year. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.